What's going on, guys? Today we are at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and today we're going to talk about a legend in the film world by the name of Harold Ramis. Now, if you're not familiar with who Harold Ramis is, he was probably best known as Dr. Spangler from Ghostbusters, but he was also a prolific writer, director. He was an actor, but his true genius really showed when he was behind the camera. Now, for a little bit of background, he was born in 1944 in Chicago. He started cutting his teeth at Second City, and then he started doing SCTV in Canada. He became close friends with guys like Eugene Levy, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray. Most of these guys he would work with throughout his career. Now, one of the first films that he wrote was Animal House, which became a huge hit with John Belushi, cult classic, and after that point, he pretty much was able to write his own ticket. Now, it didn't stop there. Now, after he did Animal House, he also was responsible for, between writing, directing, or having his hand in whatever part of the films that he did, he also was one of the creative forces behind Ghostbusters, Caddyshack, National Lampoon's Vacation, Stripes, Meatballs, Groundhog Day, Analyze This. The list goes on. And he was just an absolute legend. The movies that he made were just some of the funniest movies that came out of the 80s and 90s. And growing up, Harold Ramis was one of my personal heroes. I grew up not too far outside of Chicago. Harold Ramis, a Chicago guy. He moved to Brentwood for a little while, and then he moved his family back to Chicago. But he was just a great Midwestern guy. He didn't have an ego on him. He would stop and talk to you. Pretty much everybody in the Chicago area that had met him had great things to say about him. They mostly had personal stories about him. He was very active in his kids' lives. Just a great family guy. But this is his final resting place. It says on here, a son, brother, husband, father, friend, teacher, student, creative force, generous spirit, lover of life, and loved by all. And that really was true. I mean, anybody that had met Harold Ramis or anybody that knew him would all tell you that. I mean, he was just a fantastic guy. You couldn't find anybody in Hollywood that didn't like him, and there was very few people that didn't appreciate his movies or that didn't at least, enjoy watching him. Now, one of the sad things about Harold Ramis is in May of 2010, he developed complications from an autoimmune inflammatory vasculitis, and he lost the ability to walk. And within the next year, he relearned how to walk, but then he suffered a relapse, and he passed away in his home on February 24th of 2014 at the age of 69. Now, Harold Ramis lived outside of Chicago in a northern suburb of Glencoe, Illinois. And I drove by the former house that he used to live in and the house he passed away in, which is right here. Now, I wasn't really able to take video because it's a pretty busy neighborhood. There were a lot of people there, but I was able to snap that picture. But that is the home where Harold Ramis lived and where his family lived and where he passed away. Now, the house did go up for sale. I don't believe anybody in his family still owns it. I'm not sure who owns it now. But now, one other story is that Harold Ramis and Bill Murray were great friends. They had a great working relationship up until Groundhog Day. And when Groundhog Day, as they were filming it, he and Bill Murray had some creative differences and they had a falling out. And once Bill Murray heard that Harold Ramis was sick, and this was decades later, Bill Murray went to Harold Ramis's house to try to bury the hatchet, and he showed up with a dozen or a box of donuts and a police escort. And at that point, Harold Ramis was no longer able to speak. But what I've heard from countless people is that Bill Murray just sat there and talked to him and told him stories and was trying to make him laugh for hours before he ended up leaving. And sadly, that was the last time that Bill Murray saw Harold Ramis. Now, there is one other famous person buried here that I'm going to show you guys in a future video coming up later in the week. Somebody I didn't know was buried here until just today. But I wanted to pay my respects to Harold Ramis, not only because he was an amazing filmmaker, an amazing director, writer, just a legendary creative force, but he was just a really, really great guy. And, he was very well loved in the city of Chicago. But he is laid to rest here at Shalom Memorial Park in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really enjoy showing you guys these places and hopefully teaching you a thing or two about the people that are buried here. But thanks so much for watching, and have a great day, everybody.